Oh, Wayne Myers from Oregon. Wow. That's 5:30 in the morning for him. Poor soul.
Jai Baba, Jai. We're live.
What's that?
We're live. You can start whenever you're ready.
Oh, I can start whenever. Okay. Let me clear my throat here. So, I was uh, I was asked to speak a little more slowly than I normally would because of my thick American accent that you Indian people might have difficulty in following. But I just think this is unbelievable that we're able to see each other from all parts of the world. We may not actually see each other in person in this lifetime unless we happen to be in India at the same time. But it's beautiful. Anyway, I thought I would describe one of the major approaches to Baba as I gathered from Darwin Shaw, Erich, and the Mandali, and from Baba directly. And it's the inner journey of consciousness or awareness from the head, the realm of thinking and thought, ideas, opinions, and that, down to the heart. First, the superficial heart, which is like emotions and desires, and then moving from the superficial heart to the deeper heart, where our better angels lie, our loving qualities, the deeper feelings, and from the deeper feelings to the soul, to divine love, where Baba waits for us with open arms. So, this is only one of the major approaches. So, if what I say doesn't resonate with you, uh, there's no problem because there are so many ways and approaches to Baba. In fact, the Sufis have a saying: um, "There are as many paths to God as there are individual souls." So now, this is a little more of a conscious journey into the inner life, and it's not, if it sounds abstract or intellectual, it's really meant to be experiential, to proceed experientially. And if what I say is, you have any questions along the way, feel free to break in. So, anyway, I grew up on the west coast of the United States in the Washington State. It was a magnificent place with these majestic mountains and lovely waterways and the Pacific Ocean and forest land. And I had a very idyllic childhood. It just kind of went on forever. I had all these very close friends. We had this life of adventure, and it's a very outdoorsy life. And I would say that I lived, I was in my heart and I lived from there. All of my friends, we lived from the heart. And that at 18, I went to New York City to college, to a very high powered intellectual university. And rather naively, I kind of got into exploring things through the mind and through the intellect. And so I got into sciences, I got into concepts and philosophy, uh, the nuances of good and bad and right and wrong, and so you might say I became enamored of the mind, and whereas my whole childhood I'd lived from the heart, and but somewhere along the way, after years of being in college, I I became obsessed with wanting to find the purpose of life. I mean, what am I here for? What's my purpose in being here? And I realized that I couldn't get the answer to that from my mind. The mind was just, I needed to get into my heart to get I needed to, you might say, experience the purpose of life, not have just a belief or an opinion about it. And so, uh, and I became very depressed and even suicidal in not being able to find out what I'm here for. And and then, in other words, seeing, seeing through the intellect was like seeing the surface of the ocean. And I knew that I had to get into the heart if I was going to fathom the ocean, fathom life. And so in January of 1968, Baba entered my life, and I've shared that with the people here previously. And Baba lifted me from the head down into my heart. And it was heavenly. I mean, I was in my heart. I was like re-experiencing my childhood. And months went by in this beautiful state. But eventually the honeymoon wore off, and I found that it was back, crash landed in my head. Excuse me. And I was in this mental turmoil. I was agonizing what I was going to do with my life. I didn't have a clue. I was nostalgic, as I say, for my childhood. I was regretful and ashamed of many of the things the selfish and unkind things I'd done during my college days. And at this time, the Vietnam War was going on. And there was no way I was going to be a part of that. So I was really in this state. And Baba, I struggled with this with Baba. I mean, I now knew, I've now experienced the purpose of life, and I was living more from my heart, but my base of operations was still up in my head. And being up in my head is like looking at life through the lens of the mind, is like looking through binoculars turned around the wrong way. And being in my heart is like the binoculars turned around the right way, and everything is up close and intimate. And so I struggled with this mental turmoil, and then one day Baba brought this home to me inwardly. Baba, I think, was still on, he hadn't dropped his body yet, but this is what he conveyed to me. In every moment, there is always something loving that can be done. And that became the blueprint of my life. In every moment, there's always something loving that can be done. But Baba kind of indicated, well, how much are you in the present moment? I was only, and I was energetically in the future, I was energetically in the past, I was rejecting the present. And in my assessment, I was only about 10 or 20% in the present moment. And Baba kind of conveyed to me, well, how are you going to be able to express love if you're only partly in the present moment? And I gave a talk about that particular thing where Baba trained me over decades to try to get more and more in the present moment. But anyway, so right around this time, probably 1970, a buddy of mine and I headed from the Northwest across the country to visit some of our college buddies. And one of them lived in a small town in upstate New York. And it turned out that it was near Schenectady, and this buddy of mine and I, we had heard that there was an elderly couple that lived in Schenectady who had met Baba. So one day we got the nerve to call and see if we could see them. And this was Darwin and Jean Shaw, as it turned out, and they invited us right over. And they had met Baba back in the 30s, and they shared their intimate experiences. And we had not heard actual, from people who had actually met Baba, not so much. And this was fascinating. When we left there, we were kind of sky high, and we decided, let's, you know, why don't we just move here? And we did, and Darwin got us jobs at the county nursing home. And we started going to Darwin and Jean's meetings. And a lot of people from around the New England would go to these meetings. And Darwin, I would say, was a genuine mystic. He was a very deep soul. But if you saw him in a shopping mall, you could easily pass him by. He was very unassuming. But when he talked about Baba, it's almost like a door opened and you got to look into Baba's presence. It was really something. But anyway, I was kind of harassed. Not just like most people. I had a ticker tape of thoughts going by throughout the day, and I knew that seeing life through thought was just too narrow, and I was kind of bothered by this. And Darwin gave me a method of detaching my awareness or consciousness from thought. And he would say that, you know, we have these tentacles of consciousness or awareness that get enmeshed in thought. And I gradually kind of pulled my consciousness back so that I could witness the trains of thought going by without feeling I had to jump on board. In fact, I had followed the trains of thought going by thousands, and I'd taken those trains thousands upon thousands of times, and I would wind up way out in the middle of nowhere, and I would get dropped off. So I knew that thought was not going to help me in getting to that deeper place within me. And so I managed somehow, like I say, to get up on the bank of the river of thought and just watch it go by. So, but what that did is, when I kind of detached from thought, I was able to bring my awareness down to the realm of the heart. And I was able to see my emotions and desires and the deeper feelings up close without having to see through the lens of the mind. I was able to just experience them directly with my awareness. But I found that my feelings and my emotions and desires were far more powerful and compelling than thoughts. It was easier to detach from thoughts, but desires and emotions, the emotions of lust, greed, anger, pride, jealousy, all of those things were very powerful. And if I wasn't careful, before long I'd be pulled into the river of emotions, and I'd find myself 25 miles downstream. So I was having to deal with that. And one day but the deeper feelings, my better angels, the loving qualities in me were not a problem. They were actually quite still and quiet and not driven, not compelling or pushing me along. So one day I said to Darwin that the struggle I was having to get some detachment from my emotions and desires. And Darwin, in his very low-key way, he said, maybe you need to create a little more inner space. And I thought, inner space? I mean, I had read everything by and about Baba up to that point. I had never come across the expression inner space. But I was kind of embarrassed to ask him what he was talking about. But then Darwin said, he described a scene with Baba in 1956. Baba had called the Shah family into his suite of rooms. And Baba was sitting and they were on the floor before him. And Baba said, "If you love me, you must give me everything. All your strengths and weaknesses, your pleasures and pain, your joys and your sorrows. Give them all to me, hold nothing back. That, and be free, and that will please me." And then Baba said, "It is what you feel, I feel. It is I in you doing through you, and feeling in you. So Darwin, related this to me, and so I went back to the drawing board, so to speak, and I had not thought at that point so clearly that this alternative, I was trying to process my emotions and desires, but now Darwin was saying you can actually give these to Baba. You can give these things to Baba and let him work it out. So I began, like, in other words, emptying your heart of strangers. So now he didn't tell me how to give to Baba, but what I would do is say, suppose I felt anxiety, I would focus on that as deeply as I could, and then imagine giving that energetically to Baba in front of me. I would just, and Darwin used to say, the deeper the feeling, the deeper the healing. So I felt not just, oh, well, Baba, here's my worry. I felt I had to get deeply into it, feel it deeply, and imagine it flowing energetically to Baba. And luckily, one of the things about following the heart is that all the emotions and feelings and desires interface in the heart area. So anxiety is in a certain place, anger is in a certain place, the deeper feelings are in another place. So I was able to have something tangible to focus on in giving to Baba. And the thing with me at that time, my pervasive emotion that I experienced was dread, a feeling of dread. I would wake up with such a profound feeling of dread. I don't know if it was from this job. This job was, it was the infirmary part of the nursing home with men who were stroke victims, very little mobility, requiring tremendous amount of physical work to look after them. And they were coming down to the end of their life, so it was a bit depressing, because and many of them had Alzheimer's and everything. So I would wake up early in the morning with this massive feeling of dread. But usually by 11 o'clock, the dread would dissipate, and I would so I began giving this dread to Baba. And as I gave it to Baba, it actually intensified. And not only did it not dissipate at 11 o'clock in the morning, it would go all the way till bedtime. I'd go to bed in dread, I'd wake up in dread, and be dread all the next day, wake up again, go to bed in dread, and wake up in dread. And this went on for about a month, and I thought, this is just not working. I either don't know how to give to Baba, or I'm giving to Baba and taking it back. But I decided I was going to discontinue giving to Baba. I wasn't seeing any results. In fact, just the opposite. And so on this very day, Darwin and Jean and a whole group of us were going to a cafeteria out for lunch. And at the front of the line of the and we're in line, and at the front of the cafeteria, there are these stacks of dinner plates. And I don't know if you have those in India, but there's a spring at the bottom of the stack of plates. So when you take a plate off, another one pops up. You take another one, and another one pops up. And Baba, excuse me, Baba flashed this to me. You are giving me a plate of dread, and you look down, and no change. You give me another plate of dread. You look down, no change. You give me another plate. But meanwhile, the stack is diminishing unseen below. So Baba flashed that to me, that metaphor, and I realized that Baba is receiving my dread, layer by layer. But even whether or not I see any results. So, excuse me, darn. So the next day, I went to, I got together with Darwin, and I described this metaphor that Baba had given me. And Darwin, and this was really critical in my life, this exchange. Darwin said, Baba is the impressionless ocean. Impressionless ocean. All the impressions you give of lust, greed, anger, jealousy, pride, those impressions go and are dissolved in Baba's impressionless ocean. But there's a layer behind it that looks just like the one you gave him. So give him that layer, and then there's another layer, and it's like this huge onion. And if you take it peel by peel, you don't notice much change until after a long time, the onion is much smaller, and you can see that Baba has in fact been receiving yourself, your layer by layer. But then Darwin said this, that something much more important is going on. He said, as you give things to Baba and they're dissolved in his impressionless being, it makes more room for Baba to live in you. You are creating inner space. And I don't know if that, so we're creating inner space, so this is emptying out of the heart of its strangers. So anyway, that was so clear, and I began, as I did everything in extreme back in those years, I did everything in extreme. So I got very obsessed about giving things to Baba. I was going crazy, just and throughout the day at an inner level behind the work. I was putting my attention on how I was feeling within, and imagining that flowing toward Baba. And so let me see if I've forgotten anything. Whoop. I would say that the deeper feelings were expansive, and the desires and emotions were more confining. And so, but here's what happened is I got some space between my emotional reactions to things and my awareness, between my awareness and my emotional reactions. And so, for example, if someone got angry at me, lashed out at me, back in my college days, I would just snap back. But now I had some space. I could not, I could not react, or on a good day I could respond. I might say, "I'm sorry that I've upset you. Is there anything I can do that would help?" Like so, or so. Like I say, I was able to get a little room between my awareness and my habitual reactions and conditioning, and come up with a response deeper within. See if I can give another example. Like, say someone comes and they're going on and on about their marriage that's falling apart, and I might kind of be put off by their tone, but I had some space, so I could bring some compassion and understanding and empathy for their situation. So I could respond from my better angels rather than from my usual emotions and whatever, So I got kind of obsessed in this whole thing. And then years later, maybe the late 70s or early 80s, I was in Mandali Hall. There were a lot of us there with Erich. And at one point, I said to Erich, Erich, all I do all day is like monitor how I'm feeling, how I'm reacting to everything around. I cannot not do it. This is like I've totally obsessed with how I'm reacting to things. I'm just totally self-preoccupied. And what can I do to get through this, to get out of this this thing? And Erich says, where are you doing that? And I said, in this area. I kind of gave this gesture. Erich was across from me. He said, you are blessed to be doing that. Now that is the last thing I expected Erich to say. He didn't say anything else. He just said that. So that gave me a green light because I was kind of fighting this tendency in myself. So it got that conflict out of that, and I just kind of went on with this inner practice, you might say. But years went by, and I used to think, why did he say I was blessed to be doing this? He could have just said, hey, that's a good thing to do. And one day Baba revealed to me, there is just one heart. I'm on one side, and he's on the other. Whatever I feel, he feels. If I'm sad, he feels sadness. If I feel happy and enjoy, he feels that. It's not the God who's got infinite knowledge and power and bliss up there. This is God as a human being entering our lives. You know, be with us step for step. And he is, so this is like the reason why I think Erich said it was blessed is that this is one of the direct meditations on Baba. This is, just a second. My computer blanked out. Can you hear me? Yeah. I better not touch anything here. This is one of the direct meditations on Baba. How I feel deep down is how Baba feels to live in me. Just like focusing on a photograph of Baba is a form of direct meditation, saying Baba's name inwardly is a form of meditation. I see, up to that point I thought I'm just indulging in thinking about myself. But this is how Baba feels to live in me. So it is, like I say, a form of direct meditation on Baba. So then years and years went by. I mean,
Jeff,
a lot of this.
Jeff,
hello?
sorry, we don't have your video anymore, please.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Now,
you're welcome.
How do I get on this video here, folks? Okay. Oh, here. Okay, I'm back.
Perfect, thanks.
But luckily, you heard what I said, though, right?
Beautifully.
Yes.
Okay. So then, sometime in the last 10 years, Baba brought home something to me that was so invaluable. Baba had said one time that when you pass sunlight through a prism, it's refracted into a rainbow of colors. And each of those colors is light itself, is sunlight itself. And so what Baba revealed to me is that at the heart of us, our essence is divine love, which is Baba embodies. When you pass divine love through the prism of our innermost heart, it is refracted into the divinely human qualities. And I wrote some of those down. These are our better angels, but these are divine love itself as it percolates into our deeper heart. And those qualities are like empathy, patience, honesty, enthusiasm, courage, humor, creativity, devotion, understanding, all of our better qualities. And there are many more. I just gave some of them. And so these are, if we follow the river of any of these qualities back to their source, you come to divine love. And Darwin used to say that's a very gradual merging with Baba. That deeper part of us, our deeper heart, gradually merges toward that divine love where Baba is, as I said, waiting with open arms. And so, just to give you an example, it's the same one, love, and it has different colors according to the context. For example, if someone comes to you and they've just lost their someone close to them and they're in deep grief, then what comes forward to meet that is our empathy, our understanding, our patience, even experiencing our own past grief, so that we can actually be there for them with love. Or there may be somebody who you may have a boss who's uh, that's a bit abusive, and you come to that situation. It's the same love, but now it's taken the form of courage, maybe humor, empathy, understanding, so that truth can speak to power. The truth of our being can speak to power. And another example is like if you have a little kid who wants someone to play with him, and so you respond. What comes forward is your playfulness, enthusiasm, imagination, and creativity. So it's really the same love. This is what I gather from Baba. Don't take it as gospel. But each one of these things is that same love with a different color, meeting a different situation is the context. So anyway, this is something that Baba brought home to me. So anyway, so going back to the whole thing, it's like my movement. I'm not saying that I'm in in the soul. I mean, I am working my way into those deeper qualities in myself. But the whole kind of sojourn is from the head as the base of operations to down into the heart. The heart becomes the base of operations. First is struggling with emotions and desires, and moving gradually, the awareness moves toward those deeper loving qualities within us. And from those loving qualities, we move gradually, as Darwin used to say, we gradually merge in Baba's love. Those divine qualities are like the foothills leading up to the pristine mountain of the soul. And it's not a transcendent path where you go from the gross world up to the subtle and up through the planes. This is going deep within. It's really the path of self-effacement. That's another topic altogether. But we become a vehicle for these qualities to be expressed through us. So it's when you're a vehicle, you are really nobody. A flute is not what's important. It's the musician playing the flute. Darwin used to say, with a kind of enigmatic smile on his face, sooner or later you discover you're nobody. And that is not an unhappy discovery. So anyway, that's what I thought to share as kind of my ramshackle journey through these things. But does anybody have any questions or anything? Don't hesitate. Let's see how much. Usually, I mean, if she hasn't fallen asleep, usually Marta has some questions.
Jeff, I do have a question.
Yeah.
So is this something that, like, every day to begin to practice this, is this a conscious effort that you kind of keep bringing your mind or your heart back to, like when you're remembering Baba, you're trying to remember Baba? Is it the same kind of feeling? I don't quite understand how this practically fits into daily living.
Well, luckily we're able to do two things at once: to do our outer life and be at have this inner soundtrack going on. So I'm tuning into this. I can do it simultaneously with whatever I'm doing, checking in. And that feeling is Baba. I mean, I take it as Baba. When you tune into your deeper feelings, you're tuning in to Baba himself. That's him living in you. And there's a natural attraction to keep going back to that. And the outer becomes more secondary unless love is being expressed. I don't know if that
So
answers that.
So Jeff, is this different? Is this different than me saying Baba's name while something's going on, or is it kind of the
Oh,
same?
yeah. I mean, the saying Baba's name is another form of love, internal loving.
Uh-huh.
This is being aware of the divine qualities. The divine qualities are not emotions; they are love itself. But any kind of focus on Baba, any shape, way, form, is what we're here to do. We're
Uh-huh.
focusing on the real, and that's dissolving all of the unreal, right and left. You know, but saying Baba's name, uh, serving others, being thoughtful of them, all of that is part of that. This is one, as I said, this is only one approach to
Mm-hmm.
Baba. But I combine a whole lot of different approaches myself. This is not what I do solely because I I do Baba's name, going with the in breath and out breath, is one of my major practices in and behind my day. So, yeah, it combined. This is, like I say, this is one camera angle on our interior, but certainly not the only way. Oh, anything else, Marta?
No, that's good for now. Thank you. Very helpful,
Good
Jeff.
question. Very good. Jeff Aspel.
Jai Baba, Jeff, Jai Baba, everyone. Just following Marta's beautiful questions, I want to just look at this, I guess, from my own direct experience, which is very similar to Marta's and I think everybody here. I become aware over the last many years, and I've heard other people say something like the following, and I just heard this recently by somebody, his name is Michael Singer, on a talk. I don't know if he's a therapist or a meditator. He said everybody he knows, including himself, and he's a man in his probably mid-70s, all day long, he's either saying, oh, I don't like the weather, I don't like what I have to deal with this morning, I don't feel well. He says the mind has a tendency to complain. And he says there's a lot of judgments happening during the day. There's a lot of emotions happening today. And I noticed as he said that, which I heard about a month ago, I said, that's very true of me also. And it's true of many people I know. So my question is, in the reality in which I think most of us live, although I can't really speak for anybody but myself, but I have close relationship with my sister and some close friends, and certainly our effort and grace group that you've been leading for a few years, Jeff. Those folks are incredible. Like here tonight, this morning rather. Jeff, so much comes up during any given hour. So many feelings come up, so many emotions come up. We love Baba. We say Baba's name. We say Baba's name, as you've said, lovingly, Baba, Baba, or I love you, Baba, or thank you, Baba. Most of the day, I find it difficult to be remembering Baba's name and to have him as my constant companion. I do use a mala bead at different times in the day, especially in morning meditation, where I say Baba, Baba, Baba. That does help a lot, the mala bead. But so much of the day, I am taken away by what we could call distractions, the distractions of my thoughts, the distractions of some feelings, the distraction of the ecology of the world, the distraction of the different political parties, not only in America, but everywhere where people are not loving and not kind and not giving. And I am distracted by those thoughts and those feelings. So my question is not so much are you, I've learned not to mind anybody's business, although we all have the same business to some degree. But Jeff, you respond to the question, which is all of this stuff is happening so much, so quickly, so distractingly fast. And all of a sudden, 2 hours are gone, or more than that. And then I begin to remember, oh, help me, Baba, or I love you, Baba. I give this to you, Baba. I give these feelings to you. I give, and it does help. It definitely helps. And occasionally, as I've heard Erwin Luck say, write a little line in a note and put it by Baba's picture, which also helps a lot. But I'm still with my life. I'm still with my life samskaras. I'm still with all these many, many lifetimes of striving, trying to get closer to God, trying to serve humanity, trying to be my true self, trying to let my true Baba self emerge in my words, in my actions, in my thoughts. It's a lot harder because the thoughts are connected to the emotions are connected to what's happening. So I'm not trying to ask you an impossible question, although it is.
Yeah.
Can you respond to that?
Okay. Well, one of the things that was helpful is I found that thoughts are fed by our emotions and feelings. And you can't counteract thoughts at the level of thought. I wasn't able to. So I go down and I track the feelings. And by tracking the feelings at the heart level, a lot of the thoughts go away. You have to go up into the head to think. But if you bring your awareness down and you follow your feelings, your reactions, your responses, that is actually, as I said, that's focusing directly on Baba. That's how Baba feels in you. It's like, it's not your kind of typical type of meditation that you might get at a Buddhist temple, but following how you're feeling at that lower level, at the heart level, is a lot of your thinking and opinions and reactions and everything will subside a bit, so that eventually your consciousness can go into the deeper feelings, which are very attractive and warm and expansive. But then you'll get pulled up into your head. If someone insults me, I might immediately go up into my head and say, "Oh, I'm not going to be around that person anymore. Look at, they just insult." But in other words, I leave the pain, the insult, the hurt to my heart, and I go up into my head, and I'm up there for hours to stay with the hurt and process that, and give that to Baba is a very meaningful thing to do. But to stay at the level of the heart, I have to say, is excruciating, because I had to experience things that I was able to escape by going up into my head, one remove away. In other words, down in the heart, I was getting the raw feelings and emotions. I was getting the raw hurt. And I made myself stay down, as painful as it is, because I knew to go up in my head means that I'm thinking and I'm coming up with all sorts of ideas and theories and everything, and I've left the site of the hurt. So, but I do feel following the interior, like Erich said, that's a blessed thing to be doing. If something comes along, you get insulted by somebody, and that it's there in you. So it's perfectly fine to follow that hurt and try to give that to Baba and try to process that with Baba, rather than going on with your day. At an inner level, you can still be doing your chores around the house and keep your eye on the hurt that's in your heart. Because that's, Baba got hurt as well. There was one woman I was speaking to a couple of days ago. She was at one of the most low points of her life, in great pain, physical and mental pain. And she was calling out to Baba, "Baba, help me, help me." And Baba said to her, "This hurts me just as much as it hurts you." So that is him in you who feels these things. And it's that intimate. It's not like Baba's way off over somewhere else. He is right with us step for step. Anyway, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's kind of, you know, my approach.
Jeff, 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 Jeff.
No, Baba, Baba, Baba,
You,
Baba. That's
Baba, 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 Baba. Jeff,
yeah.
you have shared this beautiful answer a few different times besides today. Today, I really heard you at a very deeper Baba loving level because you reminded me, feel the feelings, process it, go into it, don't be distracted in the thoughts. Go and feel the feelings, whatever processing I can do, be with it, talk to Baba a little bit about it, and realize a lot of it is EGO, edging God out by letting that stuff grab me. And whatever I heard you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Your answer was deeply, I got it on a much more clear level. I'm going to work with this. Thank you. So yes, you did answer my question beautifully. Thank you.
Yeah.
And probably for many of us. Thank you, Baba.
Thank you,
Jeff.
Bob, and a very good question. These are the questions that I wound up asking the Mandali because I wanted answers to these inner, whatever, inner experiences. Goer, have you got any question or any comment?
No, no, what can I say, Jeff? You just encapsulate everything so beautifully. Your experiences, your communication with the Mandali, all has come to fruition in helping all of us deal with whatever we go through on a daily basis. So my utmost thanks to Baba, to you, for being in our lives and for guiding us so beautifully. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, like I say, I consider myself a stenographer. I just took down dictation from the Mandali.
Yeah.
Anyone
Maybe-
else? Oh,
Oh, hi, Jeff. This is Thomas.
yeah. Oh, hey, Thomas. Thailand.
Yeah, right. Yeah, what you shared reminds me of a process I'm going through now. And I find so much with the spiritual journey is actually very simple, but of course not easy. And one of the big things I've been praying about to Baba is acceptance. And every day I just remind myself and for his help in accepting what is
Yeah.
within me and around me. And just doing that. And then the next step after that is surrendering, giving it to him. Because I found myself wanting to give it to him or surrender, but then it wasn't working because I wasn't accepting it. It was like, I didn't want this and I was trying to give it to him. And then when I just accepted what is, whatever it was within me or around me, then I gave it to him. It was quite a big shift then. And then also I realized naturally through surrendering, I'm remembering him. It's one and the same because you can't surrender without remembering him. But for myself, I find the real key thing and the real challenge is acceptance, especially when my buttons are getting pushed and some strong emotions are coming up, anger or whatever. And it's not easy to accept that, you don't, it's not comfortable. You don't want it. You want to project it onto somebody else or whatever. So every day I just pray to Baba, help me to accept what is within me and around me, whatever's going on in the world externally, accept that. And I find that's been a big shift. And then I'm able to truly surrender things then if I accept it first. At least that's been my experience.
Yeah, very well said. I found in my own experience that self-acceptance was closer to the experience of Baba in me than self-improvement. Self-improvement was endless. And
Right.
self-improvement is always kind of the future. It takes us out of the moment. But yeah, accepting what is and being relaxed and not put on ourselves some standard of perfection is, it kind of relaxes the heart. It's not being, it's not being, doesn't have the tension of where it is and where it so-called should be. That, and so love can actually percolate through self-acceptance a lot better than self-improvement, which has a, it creates a tension across the heart, I would say. Yeah, great,
Right.
Thomas. Any other questions? Oh, I see Shraddha is here. Uh-huh.
Jeff, when you have time at the center for fun and relaxation, what do you do for fun and relaxation? Because I know you work many hours a day at the center. Do you give yourself a little time for fun and relaxation? How do you do that?
I enjoy just walking around with Baba's name quietly going on inside of me. Like I'm the bellows, and Baba is the operating the bellows of his name.
Yeah.
I and just being very relaxed and walking around, uh, just being, not in a state of doing. And then out of that state of being, things happen. Uh, but when I'm in a state of doing, kind of a mentality of doing, that doing is not as fresh and spontaneous as when I'm just relaxed and something comes up, you know. But I like the spare time. And then, of course, there's dressing your soul with Baba, which is another whole subject. But I do that throughout the day. So you feel that warmth of Baba with you in my spare moments. I have a whole repertoire of things that I do that work for me. Sometimes one time it works, other time it doesn't. So I just keep switching around all these different types of remembrance, you know. And let's go see what Bradley. Bradley and Hunter gave, if you guys, they gave such a beautiful sharing the other night of their life with Baba and their life with each other. But anyway, go ahead, Bradley.
Good morning, Jeff. So I wanted to see if you could talk a little bit about going from thought and into feeling, and then going beyond feeling into loving action. Because sometimes in my own process, I've done the recapitulation of the past. I've done the feelings of the past and the feelings and gotten enough in the witnessing self to be able to really get some distance from the personality. But then my blockages get from then moving into that loving action of what purpose is, because my purpose, I just want to be with Baba all the time. And so moving into loving action to see Baba and everyone else and seeing the purpose is really in everyone else, and having that loving action and getting enough separation from the feeling at that point, or the emotion, I guess, getting enough separation from the emotion to really go into loving action.
Yeah, I think our intuition and empathy that's deep within us get prompts us on what to do. You know, in other words, you see a situation. There's a Japanese phrase, to be able to read the air. You see what love might be calling for in a situation. If it's not calling for anything, then you get the privilege of just being with Baba within, you know. But you'll see something, someone is troubled and everything, and those divinely human qualities, and your empathy comes forward, and it all happens naturally. You know.
I think you sort of hit on what just so for me, I think Bob has given me a lot of privilege with me in this life to just be with him.
Yeah.
And that works my sanskara of wanting to be in working service with him, but he's given me the privilege to just be with him, and so I'm constantly looking where to move out into the world, and Baba just keeps pushing me back into the corner and saying, no, I want you to be with me, and that's really hard.
Yeah. Yeah, because we have the world of shoulds. I should do this. I should be helping my fellow beings. I should be. That should interferes with what our heart would naturally feel like doing. I mean, I had that trouble with, I was kind of a good person. Make the world a better place. I had this kind of responsibility toward my fellow beings that had to actually fade to see what love wanted to do in the present. And I had to clear that out of the way. Sometimes that interferes. I don't know if that makes sense, but I should be serving Baba, I should be doing this, and that voice is going on, and love, and it's hard then to hear what love is asking.
Yeah.
It might be to stay back, or it may, when we're really relaxed, love can do what it wants to do through us, and Baba can. But there is the mental, our standards and our values and everything, which are good up to a certain point. I'm just saying, but eventually that voice starts to interfere with the deeper voice of the heart.
Yeah, and I think that's where I'm getting to the point with we've talked about before of letting go of my agenda of what love should look like, and letting Baba's love be the motivator and the speaker.
Say that again, because that's a very profound thing.
Yeah, me letting go of my agenda of what love looks like, and letting Baba's love be the motivator and the speaker and the inspiration.
Yeah, and that subtlety is so that discernment is so critical there. Our own agenda of what love should look like. And I mean, I've spent decades with that thing. It was good up to a certain point, but I had to get rid of it. I had to give up my dial phone for a cell phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good.
Thank you,
Excellent. Robin.
I'm like gushing with all the appreciation of what I'm hearing and feeling. I just wanted to say Michael Singer in his new book, Living Untethered, explains the process that you're talking about really well. So I just recommend it. But what I wanted to say is that when I dress my soul with Baba, I never quite know how to picture that happening and stuff. And I guess what I was doing was picturing it small, like he's right around me, the me that I experience myself as. And then one morning, all of a sudden, it was like my soul is as big as Baba's and yours and everybody else's. So now when I say that, it's like hugely expansive, that he is my soul, and I'm dressing myself with that instead of this little contained thing. So it just has felt really like an improvement or something. But I'm just so appreciating what you said, what Bradley just said, and just how these things have to keep on changing. That we just keep on coming up with new stuff all the time. I guess Baba does really, and it's just such an exciting journey.
Oh wait, I guess the Sonover. It says the recording is stopped. I guess you only have for 1 hour or something like that?
No, it's still live. This was accidental. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
It's still live.
I mean, I don't know how long we go here for, but yeah, all the different shades of love that we experience with Baba, even like I say, dressing your soul with Baba, goes through so much evolution, a beautiful evolution, and it gets more expansive, warmer, whatever. It's all these, it just is infinitely engaging, I feel, you know. I don't say, oh God, what should I do today? God, what a boring day, you know. There are so many things that you can take off the shelf and enjoy. Let's see. Any other questions or sharing? Oh, okay, Shraddha.
Hey, Baba Jeff. Am I
Yeah,
audible?
you are. A little bit louder,
That,
maybe.
um, I'm sorry. How about now?
Yeah,
Better?
maybe
Is that
much
better?
louder, but pretty good. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. Every time we hear you, we feel as if Baba is communicating through you. Thank you so much for all your sharings. It's just wonderful. It feels like we are brought closer to Baba just by listening to you. My question is very related to what I just said. When we seem to speak, at least in the worldly matter, when we speak or explain, we tend to use our intellectual processes so intimately that we are not aware of it ourselves. And I know that major part of your living is living in the moment and living from your heart. Do you find yourself um, kind of stuck sometimes in this heart intellect coordination at all? Or do you find it just very spontaneous and natural, as Baba uses that term in explaining God speaks or discourses?
Um, yeah, sometimes, I mean, Darwin used to talk, and I've mentioned this to you before in Effort and Grace. Darwin said that there's an invisible current in each of us. And that invisible current for most people is going to I, my, me, and mine. And that current needs to be reversed so we flow into Baba and out to the world. And sometimes during the day, I work on that current from early morning, but sometimes in the afternoon that current stalls out, and so you might feel kind of bored or listless, or you just don't have it. So then you find what works for you to get that current going. And it isn't, I mean, of course it can be Baba's name, but it can be playing a game of tennis. It can be hanging out with a child. But keeping your eye on that inner current. Is it stalled? Is it flowing? It's a kind of an inner, it's being proactive about that current within us, and I mean, the intellect, the mind can help a little bit in that. It can get you to phone somebody to go and play tennis or something like that. I mean, it's good. The mind is a good servant, but it's a terrible master. But feeling feeling deep, what enlivens your heart. It could be, poetry. It could be calling somebody that you have a close connection with, whatever. And with each person it varies. But to stall out is something I have to deal with. I have to kind of get my vitality up to another a level, because this is my experience. When I stall out, Baba seems like he's over there, and I don't quite know what to do, so my mind comes down and gives me these options, none of which are worth following, and life becomes quite ordinary. But when that flow is happening, when that current is flowing, I don't have to say, where's Baba? Baba is the flow. I don't have to ask, what should I do? Because that flow is the doing. And the world around me has some carbonation in it. It has a little bit of luster, rather than it's just kind of flat, like like a drink at at a party on the next morning with some cigarette butts in it. It's complete. It's so it's the kind of something that's fun to do with Baba. Hey Baba, I need to enliven my interior. I have got I am just kind of flat lined here. So Baba's happy to jump in and try to get get your car, which happens to be stalled, into first gear, and then you can move up the gears. I don't know. Does that?
it
And it's
it
good to have.
it helps quite a bit. I was just stuck in the thought where Baba, and I mean, most of Baba's discourses are based around living from your heart, and most of your living is around that as well. And I find it struggling that when you are even speaking, like even trying to make an effort to communicate your inner process or your inner journey and living with Baba, that also involves your intellectual process so much that it feels like now I'm trying to philosophize instead of just living in the moment and experiencing Baba. So I find that a little bit, at a clash and not seeming as spontaneous or natural as it should be.
Yeah. But being able to verbalize these things can be a help to others. Because a lot of stuff is kind of formless and nebulous in people, and if you can spell out things that you've worked at, I mean, there's an intellectual process, but it's helpful, especially when the heart and the intuition is kind of, what can I say, tuning the guitar so it's in perfect tune. But being able to verbalize these things, I think these sessions here that we've had where people speak how they
Oh,
feel,
they are.
that's going to
Yeah.
help whenever someone asks, who is this Mayor Baba?
Yeah.
You have had a chance here to put your feelings and thoughts and beliefs into words. And it's
Right.
no small thing, So being able to verbalize things can be a great help to
Yeah.
others, especially
I
those
totally
who've never
agree.
heard of Baba. Yeah. So the
For
intellect
sure.
is a valuable place in this.
Yeah.
But then there's what Rumi said. By the time the intellect has selected a camel for the pilgrimage to Mecca, love has already climbed Mount Sinai. Yeah. So, any other? I don't know how long. What time is it? It's 9:11. Well, anybody else have any questions? Let me just
This is a little off the subject, but I'm just curious with Michael Singer, because I was listening to his audio book and he mentioned Mayor Baba and Sanskars. And so do you know what his connection is with Mayor Baba?
Yeah.
What is it?
He is one of the greatest benefactors of the center in Myrtle Beach, believe me.
Oh, okay.
But there was a guy that worked at the center named Brian Bagari, and he worked with Mickey Singer down there in Florida for about 7 years. And Mickey kind of, one of his things, it's all within. It's all within. But Brian was coming after 7 years and said he was going to go to Mehrabad, to the tomb, Baba's tomb. And he was kind of a little apprehensive about, bringing up that he was going somewhere when Mickey kind of emphasizes that it's all within. So he kind of said that he was going there, and Mickey Singer said, Baba is the one looking after all of us. What a beautiful way of putting it. He's the one looking after all of us. That was his, description of Baba. So kind of simple and colloquial, and that's the truth. So yeah, his wife has been to the center, and And a lot of the people on these Zoom sessions go see him and attend his gatherings there in the Temple of the Universe. Yeah.
Jeff, I'm sorry, but your video is going off again, I think.
My what? Oh,
not-
yeah.
We are not able to see you.
Yeah. Oh, now, uh-oh. Now the monitor is no longer working. Hey.
We can see you now.
Yeah, I have to look now on over to my computer. Oh my God, now I'm back the other way. Maybe this is let's see. Huh. Okay, here I'm gonna return here. Uh-oh. Even my computer's gone off.
Yep, you're gone off again.
Progress. Okay.
Jeff,
What about
Jeff,
Wayne
you-
Meyer? Any questions from Wayne? I mean, I know it's 5 in the morning, or now it's probably 6:30.
Thank you, Jeff. This has been really, really beautiful. I've been really enjoying. Yes, it's early here, and it's great. Thank you so much, Jay Baba.
Any thoughts or questions or anything?
Well, would you tell the story of then this came to my mind of the time in the samadhi of about giving asking Baba. It's early in the morning here about the that you haven't forgiven. Baba reminded you that you had not forgiven him. Can you do that, a short version of that story?
Okay. Yeah, I had a situation that of someone who was actually quite basically kind of my nemesis, very kind of unkind and for decades. And and I could never work anything out with the person because I didn't mean anything to them, you know. So why should I work out? And the person was like kind of authoritative uh, and just no interest and would do hurtful things but never apologize. And so this was going on, and even when I tried to work things out, I couldn't do anything. But after many years, this person wanted to, wanted to go over something. Normally, they would never really get together with me, but the circumstances arranged that they had to bring something up with me, and I used that opportunity to give this person some feedback on their behavior toward me and toward others over the years. And I could see that what I was saying was just going in one ear and out the other. And I said, at some point, I said, I'm just going to speak to his soul. I didn't know what that was, but whatever I was doing was not working. So I focused on his, I changed my focus, and so I was speaking with him, and I had the idea that I was looking at a remote planet in my universe, and if it weren't for this guy, I would never have even known that planet existed. I mean, it's kind of laughable. And so anyway, we came to the end of it. Nothing got anywhere. But then I went to India 3 weeks later, and I was in the tomb one afternoon, and I wasn't preoccupied with this exchange I had with this person because I'd been honest and sincere, but I didn't mince words about the painful effect this person had had on my life for years. And so I'm in the tomb there, just a couple of us there, and this image of this fellow and I kind of passes through me. And Baba flashes this to me in a millisecond, a whole discourse. And this is what Baba said to me. I'm putting it into English. Take my word for it 100%. Not in this lifetime, but in the past, you used to be just like him. You hurt people, you justified, you didn't really care about them. And that was their problem. And this person now has been in your life all these years to bring you to this moment when you will ask me for forgiveness for the way you had been in the past. You never asked me for forgiveness. You hurt someone just like this person is. I mean, I'm extrapolating here. You hurt someone just the way this person is hurting you. You have hurt someone in the past, and you never asked me for forgiveness, which I would readily have given. And I realized, oh my God. So I got the truth of that. And so I spent the next 45 minutes in the tomb just experiencing how this person had hurt me over the years, their behavior toward me and all of that. And I felt it deeply. And then I said in the tomb, Baba, I made someone feel like this for years. This is what I did to somebody. Baba, please forgive me. And the interesting thing is, I mean, there's more to the story, but when I got back, this person never treated me that way again because their role was over. But I realize it's a very compassionate system. This person is there to remind me that I have to ask forgiveness for something the way I was in the past. Normally, I would think, hey, this guy should be asking me for forgiveness in the present, but it's a much deeper thing. I don't know if that touches on that thing, but so that if I'm driving down the highway and some young person cuts me off and laughs at me and everything, I say, Baba, please forgive me. I know I've done things like that, and I never ask for forgiveness. I ask now that person is reminding me to ask for forgiveness for the selfish things I'd done in the past. Anyway, I don't know if that was a kind of just a brief explanation of that. Hey, well, what do you think? Do you think we're kind of coming down to the end? What's your people's thought?
Jeff, that last story that you just shared,
Yeah.
that Wayne Myers asked you to share,
Yeah.
that took your whole talk and it raised it to a much greater awareness level for me. It really, really is such a reminder, no matter what happens, what does love call on me to do now? Not to take out little egoic kinds of reactivity that doesn't do any good, but I've been there before, just like you mentioned in other lifetimes. You were just the same way. It like my solar plexus is like tingling with, yeah, that story takes your entire talk and it like crystallizes it for me in such a way that I'm very, very grateful, Jeff, for your beautiful talk and everybody's questions and input. This was thank you all, and thank you, Baba, and thank you, Jeff. This was extraordinary, really.
Yeah, thank you. No, this universe is a very compassionate system, but it's taken me about 50 years to say this. Really, it's all we are helping each other out. This guy was actually helping me out, whereas I thought he was my nemesis. He was reminding me to ask for forgiveness. We're all helping each other out, even though it doesn't look like it at all. And to get that experientially, not just as a theory, even as an intuition, but to get it experientially takes a long, long time.
Everything is a call for love. Whether it's the person who's antagonistic and challenging you, it's a call for love. Or things that are less challenging, but it's all a call for love. Love from each of us to the other one. It's all a call for love. I never really got it that deeply. It's
Yeah.
all a call for love. Extraordinary, Jeff. Gee.
Have we got anyone else? I don't know what time it is. Okay, it's I think, what do you think, folks? So I don't see Nasreen because it's too early. She usually ends everything with Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai. Any now the Indian people aren't asking too many questions.
Jeff,
Yes.
it's very,
Yeah.
yes, in and in Toronto. I just want to say thank you. It's
Oh.
superb. It was wonderful, truly, truly wonderful. And you really nailed the last piece very beautifully. That
Yeah.
what we go through is Baba's reminder of what we have done in the past. And that helps to live this life much differently, much better. And I have known that, but thank you for the reminder again. Thank you. Jai Mar Baba.
Yeah, the
Thank
piece of asking for forgiveness was
Yeah,
the piece that I had never seen, you know.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bob, and that
Jeff,
came from, yeah,
Jai Mar Baba.
yeah,
Jeff, I have one question.
yeah.
Because I heard Darwin speak often on this, and in his talking about being an aspirant, and also saying that you know we tend to think, oh, we have to work it out for another 10,000 lives, but Baba is limitless. You know, he could just raise all of that at any moment. And what did he talk about that as far as just really taking ourselves into the space of Baba to where we could really just give it all to him in that moment, and letting go of the attachments of having to work it out life after life after life.
Yeah. Yeah, Darwin was very proactive about giving the whole interior or past to Baba and be free in this, in this life. And, that it's not like you have to wait around for lifetime life. There's so much can be done. But the beautiful thing is the process of giving things to Baba, of working with Baba, becomes fulfilling in itself, that the goal is kind of irrelevant, meaning this camaraderie of giving things with to Bob, like for me, like Bob will say, well, Jeff, what do you have to give me today? Well, I got that like anxiety that I've had for the last 3 weeks. Oh, that again? Oh my God. There's a sense of humor you acquire, because you'd like to give him, like Darwin said, a fresh bouquet of roses, and you're just giving him garbage, little scraps. But it means the world to Baba, But now this is just my opinion. I felt the Mandali actually want to delay realization as long as they can, because once they're realized, they're of no help to Baba. They want to stay in this creation and serve him up to the last possible moment. That's a different approach than getting out of here. They are postponing that out of love. They know how Baba suffers, and they are willing to suffer with him. Yeah. It's not about, there was a time when there was one of Baba's early Mandali named Pleader. Baba had promised him back in the 20s that he would give him God realization. And years went by, and he wasn't getting his God realization. He came to Baba in 1938 when Pendu and them were up on the hill constructing the tomb and the dome on top and the second floor on the converted water tower. And so Pendu is on a timetable to get this done. And here is pleader, asking, well, Baba, you said you would give me God realization. And Pendu comes by, and Baba says, Pendu, what do you want? I'll give you anything you want. And Pendu looks at him and says, nothing, and goes on his way. So there, I ask you for realization. And Pendu, Baba's in a moment where he could give him the kingdom. And he says, nothing, Bob, and goes on. So that's the way they were. I once said to Bao Kalchuri when I was massaging him in one of the back rooms at the trust compound, I had him alone, and he had to answer my questions. And I said to Bao, I'm going to quote to you a famous line, Sufi line, and you tell me if you found it to be true for you in the Mandali. And the quote is, suffering is he, happiness is from him. Suffering is he, happen. Would you say that was true for you in the Mandali? And very poignantly, he's face down on the cot there where I'm massaging him. He says, we were only aware of his suffering. Year in and year out, week to week, day by day. We were aware of his suffering. But if someone came to Mirzad, they got the happiness from him. So, Baba's there in infinite suffering. How can I be over here experiencing bliss? I mean, it doesn't align with Baba's state. They all suffered tremendously, but they didn't tell us because we were in childhood. You can't, the father who has 3 jobs at the factory and working all night doesn't come home and say, children, do you know what I have to do just to provide food for you? No, he comes home, he opens his arms, and the kids run into his arms. That's the way it is. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, so anybody want to say a last Avatar Mayor Baba? Does someone have a quote? And then maybe we have gone for quite. Oh, Dinesh! Wow, I haven't seen Dinesh in a while.
Jai Baba, Jeff. Nice
Jai
to
Baba,
hear
nice
you.
to see you.
Very nice.
Yeah. Okay, let's. I'll quote. Oh, Martha, do you have a quote? Oh,
Jeff, I have my favorite quote lately is just Baba says, your job is to remember me, and my job is everything else.
beautiful. Yeah. Say that again.
Your job is to remember me. My job is everything else.
Beautiful. Okay, what do you think? I think this is good. You guys have, especially on the West Coast, you're way past your bedtime. You're out of sync. Okay, let's
Jeff,
have a.
Jeff,
Yeah.
thank you to the Bombay group. Wayne was just in the chat saying thank you to all you guys for inviting us to come and wake up early and come to share all Baba's love. Thank you, all of you in India.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Bob.
Let's have a few moments of silence. Jai Baba. Thank you all, folks.
Thank you, Jeff. It's a privilege.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Jeff.
Privilege
You
for me
always bring
to.
so much for us. And Always such a great pleasure to hear you.
Yeah, well, thank you. I hope it was what I said was intelligible.
Oh, yes.
And you
Straight
can,
to the heart, Jeff.
Thank
Straight
you.
to the heart.
Thank you. Thank you, Jeff.
Remember.
Thank you, everyone. Chair
yeah.
Thank
Papa.
you.
Did you understand my American accent?
Oh, yeah. We did.
Uh,
The Nobel had said, you know, talk a little bit slower because our English is a little bit different, you know.
It was perfect,
Oh,
Jeff.
okay. Well, much love to all of you. Now you can disappear into the ether.
Thank you, Jeff. That was
Yeah,
wonderful.
Thank you, Jeff.
yeah.
That was
Hey,
great.
Baba
Thank
Jeff,
you,
thank you much.
Chair Papa.
Jai Baba.
Hey,
wonderful.
Baba.
Jai
Much
Baba,
love, Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Avatar mein Baba ki jai.
Jai. Avatar, Meher Baba
Mein
ki
Baba
Baba
ki
ki
jai.
jai.
Avatar, Meher Baba
Avatar
ki
mein Baba ki
Oh,
jai.
Let's do this in 6 months again. Jai Baba, Jeff.
I ran out of
Wait,
material now.
why wait 6 months? Let's do it earlier.
I think we need one a month.
Yeah, that's a better idea.
Sometime it would be, yeah, talk about the blessing your soul with Baba. That's something valuable. Yeah. Okay. Sue Lerner.
Hey, Jeff.
Yeah.
Nice to see you. I
Yeah.
just got the email about 10 minutes ago, so I just
Oh,
popped on. But
yeah. Well, this is
even
going to be recorded, so I think it'll be available if you missed it.
that sounds great. I will watch for it, Jeff.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Much love to you.
Jai Baba.
Yeah, Jai Baba. Hey, even Al got up, you know. He hasn't even had any coffee yet, you know. He's just. Uh-oh, he's got it. He's got it. He's got it. Yeah. Oh, anyway, yeah, Jai Baba. I guess I better go. Thank you all again. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Much love, Jeff. Much love to you and everyone. Much love.
Jai Baba, Jeff.